that how we can maintain the log. We keep improving our log entries, but we'll move into now the request is moved in our impact assessment list, and in impact assessment list we have different columns, and we need to apply the logic to calculate desired implementation date and total effort date that will be updated in our work detail list. So I will put one more column here. Okay, so and I give the name to that column. What is the column name in my list? Let me check the list. What is the column name? Say ITGPT. Okay, and in the assessment list the column name here IT department. Okay, so this is the column name IT department. Okay, so I maintain here, and I'll say SAP, then content management, ERP. Okay, so these are the selected department. I just give you the example here. So based on the department, the request goes to the approval for respective person. Okay, so I go in IT assessment, and we have maintained here. You can see your first tentative dates, and here you can see our IT heads are maintained here. Okay, so here what we are doing now, we need to write the logic here. And if I modify this entry mahi-7, so what should happen here? Okay, so it will ideally it will give me the it read all these 3 entries or 4 entries, whatever the entries work with ID. Here you can see there are entries with a different ID, mahi 10. Then as of now here mahi 10, but there are different IDs. Okay, so because it appearing the multiple IDs, because we were testing our application. So here you can see if I retrieve the mahi 7, then what it will do if I mark it as a submit. Okay, and this one is also submitted. Okay, then it will read those mahi 7, and if this one is not submitted, it ignore that, and if this is submitted, means first we check that the items with the work ID is this. Okay, items with work ID are 3, and items with the work ID mahi 7 and status is submitted are 3. Then only both are equal, then only we perform this operation to get the maximum date from the tentative date and sum of these 3 things. Okay, so when this mahi ID is 7 and we retrieve 3 items, and then if mahi ID is 7 and IT status is equal to submitted, if though both the conditions are return the same result, then only we will go ahead. So how we'll proceed with that? Okay, so in this case we'll go here and we create the new flow here. Now I'll go here in my flows, and I say here, and I name it as say IT assessment flow. Okay, my flow name is IT assessment flow. And here what I'm doing now, here when atom is created, in our case the scenario is only for modified. It will modify the atom. So atom created or modified. No, I will not take atom created and modified. I just take the modified. So say show more, or you can search here modified atom or file modified, this action. Okay, this trigger action I'll select modified. Okay, and I'll say create IT assessment flow. Now here I'll select the list. This is our list. Select that list here, and now here, and I select the drop down which list, IT assessment list. Okay, and in this list now here this flow will trigger, will not do anything. After that what we are doing, we'll get all the items first thing, and then we will fetch all the items, and next case we will fetch the items with the 2 filtration criteria. One is work ID and one is the status. So I'll say get items here. Again I'll select my list here, site list, and then here filter action, filter query, and here what logic we can apply here. We need to check that matching work ID. So I'll say here, go here, this column, maybe this is a title, okay, title, and I say EQ, and in a single quote here, and I will title is equal to work ID, IT assessment, and here is the work ID. Okay, we can see the work ID. So this work ID came from this request, this action. Okay, means what we do, we'll get the atom with the work ID mahi 7 and it will retrieve. Okay, so we save this and we test the functionality here. Okay, so what I do, I will update, or what I do here, there are multiple mahi 10 items are there. I delete some of them, and here four are there. So I just modify any one of them, edit all, and I will save wafers in one and save this. I go here and test manually and test. Okay, we test that whether the we are getting the required information or not. Our flow is triggering now, flow trigger, and now here we check the output. Here we are getting some output here. Okay, so mahi 10. Okay, some data is there. Let me check count is there or not. Count name, atom count 4. There are many places there are 4 is there, so no problem. Okay, so ID is there, page type 4. Let me check, because it retrieve the to check that whether it's retrieve the correct atom or not. I just edit this and put here mahi 11 for testing purpose. Save this. Okay, again flow will trigger. Got it. Again I refresh, because I just recently modified it. Mahi 11 means flow will trigger on Mahi 11. It will retrieve only one entry now, Mahi 11. Just to check that, oh, flow is not triggering. Just a moment. I modified this entry. Just a minute. See here, it's recently executed, and we check that what was the result. See, that is equal to Mahi 10. Here, okay, so we can see Mahi 11 is only one entry, means our condition is working perfect. Okay, so now what I do, I'll add one more action, which I just copy this action and we add, before that, get which list, IT assessment list item with work ID. Okay, now next thing is what we do, we'll do here, I just paste it here and say here, select this, cannot read property get data for null. Just a minute, I think something wrong happening here. Let me refresh. Okay, I just copy. direction, my clipboard, and get items. Okay, so I rename this and I'll say that get item from IT assessment with against work ID. Okay, and this one is sorry, yeah, get items from IA with IA against work ID and status. Status needs to be submitted. Okay, and here also get items from IA against work ID. Okay, so here I close this, and now here in condition we'll say one more equal to. Okay, and so here what logic for and then and condition we need to write. I think we have written and. Let me check raw data. Just a minute, because if I directly write, definitely there will be the error. So let me check. So not rest. And okay, so and then what is the column name here? IT assessment column name. Okay, status column is not there. I have not added the status column, so I will add one more column here and name it as a choice and say status. There are choices, say pending and sub. Okay, submitted. Okay, so there are two options. Where's the column? Okay, let me check the column in this setting again. Status. I think it's a confusing with our work detail status, so I will say IA status to him. Okay, so it's a better to say IA status. I delete this because internal name still remain as status, that's why I have deleted. So I go here and I say IA status. Okay, so I'm here now. Say submitted and pending. Okay, so pending will be the default and it will automatically set as a pending when request added. Okay, so we have created the IA status in IT assessment. I'll go here. Where's my flow? So in my flow, I'll say here IA status. Okay, so equal to, and here so okay, so I save this. Okay, IA status is equal to equal to submitted. Sorry, work ID. Okay, no, but it's correct. Okay, so now what I do, go here and I'll update column here, submitted, submitted. Here two entries needs to be retrieved. Okay, in next status condition. Okay, it will retrieve two entries. Third one is 10, but there is a nothing. Okay, so what I do, okay, we just modified it. Yes, it may hit the trigger action because recently we have modified it. Yeah, it's hit. Close remaining part. So here is the error. What error is saying that next equal to margin and is equal to 7 is not a valid. Query failed. Okay. So here is status equal to. Let me check the internal name of the field. Internal name is very important. I have not maintained this space in that. That's why it's looking like. I just test the last run action here. Okay, so you understand what was the issue. Actually, I was provided the display name there and the display name. So here, one, how many, as per our expectation, it needs to be retrieved only how many atoms it needs to be retrieved. Just a minute, I go in IT assessment and we check that 3 margin 10, there are 3 and we expect only 2 here. Okay, how much it retrieve? So from these, just a moment, check that. Just a minute guys, here SAP, and we check that ERP is there or not. If ERP is there, means query is wrong. So ERP is not there. If you can see, ERP is not there, capital ERP. Okay, sorry, means our query is correct. Okay, so and in this case it will retrieve all the atoms. It will retrieve 3 marking. See, 1 1 2 and 3. Okay, so you understand that means our query is executing fine, working fine. So here again I will do one more operation here. What I do, I will compose. Okay, so there are two actions. I will compose the get the count from these two. So what I say, compose here, data operation compose, and in that compose, what I'm saying, I'll take this value. Okay, the value from get IA against work ID. So get against work ID, and another one is here get IA against work ID. Okay, and again I'll add one more compose here. If you are in a simple action, you can put the simple action to get the count of the atom. Okay, here against work ID and status. Okay, so here I'll rename it. So count of IA with work ID. Okay, count of IA with the work ID. Count of IA with work ID. And here I rename this count of IA with work ID and status. Okay, so we have two values here, and now here we apply the condition here, control, and here we take the condition. Okay, if both are matching, okay, so I will say here output count of I is equal to work ID is equal to this count from the one goes here and one is here, output of this two action goes here. Okay, so we use that. Now check. Now here I have this. Now we go here. If both are matching, now if both are matching, then what I do, it will goes in a yes, otherwise it will return false. Now what I'm doing now here, we check the last run action here. Okay, so that we know that whether count try correct or not. So here output, what is the output? Sorry, I did one mistake here. I directly set the output here, but I need to count the length here. Okay, so here I use the length expression, and value ID value. This is just a minute. This value I put. Okay, just a minute. Let me think. Value body value outputs value. Okay, double length written here. Okay, I will say okay. So here also I will just put the length. Remove this expression length. It will retrieve dynamic content work ID, and now I'll take this value from, just a minute. I one place I use the body and one place, just a minute, I need to use value here. I think I'm a bit confused on that. Length, okay, length, and here I and one details. I use this value. And what value? This value. Oh. Here I go in dynamic content, and here I use this. Okay, okay. Let's save this. Check the output. Test. Three output is there, and here two output is, means it's working perfect and fine. Okay, so now next thing. We can compare these two things. The next part is check the conditions. Now it's going in no condition. Okay, see here false means it's going no, and now if both are here, I'll put the submit. check the action here. If I'll stay here and I put the manual trigger here, close this, edit, and I'll go here and I say submit here. Well, that I said submitted, save, check that. Now it will go in a yes condition. So up to this we understand the first stage we have completed to check the condition. Okay, now it's a true and it's there. Okay, perfect. Now now this is we go into this part. Okay, we stop here. In next session what we do, we do the calculation.